That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome back to That's a Shame, your favourite podcast about, lately, some of the disgusting internet pools that one can dive into and suck up the scum from the surface of. I'm Isaac, and you're?
Well, I'm Declan.
And you've done the scum sucking this week.
Sort of.
This fortnight.
Mine is less, I suppose, outrageous in some ways.
I beg to differ.
More outrageous in others.
Yeah. I guess there's no sense beating around the digital bush. It may just behove us to dive right in, but as just to ease people in, how's it going?
I'm not bad, thank you. We've had a good day, haven't we? It's been full of love.
I just realised I have headphones on like some sort of DJ.
Oh no.
Terrible.
It's been full of love and, now this is crucial,
Yeah.
lots of praise for us. And
Yeah,
that for me
a key pinnacle of any
big
day.
part of the day.
We're talking about a charity single that we've released.
Yeah.
Against all odds. You can go to shame.city/geds, that's GEDDS, and have a listen on our Twitch over at shame.city/Twitch, where we stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sometimes Sunday.
We
have a channel point reward where people can pay 15,000 channel points, which are free. You get them for watching, and then we write you a song. And then we wrote a song. If you buy it for £1, then the money goes to Radio Lollipop, which is a nice charity.
Yeah.
And
Who
it's
now
very
follows,
good.
which is
They
fantastic
followed
news.
Shame City Gang, much to their chagrin in the future, I'm sure. But yeah, now that the pleasantries are out of the way, I think it's time to...
Well, I didn't ask how you were.
I'm great, always.
Okay,
it's time to get our masks on
Yeah.
and scuttle on down to Puddletown, baby.
So, content, it's one of those things. She's a fickle mistress.
Oh, for sure.
And often she surprises you. Like sometimes you will begin to dive into a topic and you think there's going to be loads.
Yeah.
But really, in the end, there's not that much there.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that when we did the episode about Trapped in the Closet, which is that like there's, hours and hours and hours of this footage. It is exceedingly mental.
Yeah.
But part of the problem is that it's so mental that the only real thing to say about it is, look how fucking mental it is.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it boils down into one. It's like, how many themes does it contain?
Yeah.
And Trapped in the Closet had just the one theme, really.
Now, sometimes, though, content will do the opposite. Sometimes you'll be expecting something simple, and actually it opens out into something truly insane. And this episode kind of falls into the latter. Again, I still don't know how long. This could be
Days.
20 minutes.
Okay.
This could be 2 hours.
Listeners will know.
I genuinely don't know. I feel there's this trope, and I don't know why it's so crystalline in my mind. Maybe it's just oft parodied. Maybe it's because it appears in games a lot, this kind of thing. Because I've never read anything that is in this, but I feel like a sort of Victorian sci-fi character who, that the sort of like explorer chap, he's got a very racist hat on probably, and he's been on some huge quest to mythic worlds.
Minorities.
Well, it wasn't his intention.
But he did.
Or maybe it was, but then that wasn't what he ended up doing.
Okay.
But he sees mythic beasts and he sees fantastical worlds, and then he wakes up and he's like back in his bed, and he doesn't know whether it was real and they've transported him here or whether it was a dream. But he's got like a sort of maybe a pocket full of pixie dust or a photograph. Maybe he's got
Pocket
some
full of
screws.
screws.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And so he's like, fuck, and he writes it all down. It's, the adventures of Bob Langsworth.
So you say you've made all this up?
No, I'm saying that I feel like that guy in that there's just so much and I can't really believe that it's real, but I've got screenshots, so it is.
Okay, fair enough.
So I've divided this into chapters. Okay, we've got 3 of them here.
Perfect. That's
absolute
bang on.
Chapter 1 is where we'll start at the very beginning.
Makes a great deal of sense.
Very good place to start. Chapter 1 is the discovery.
Okay.
So I had never heard of this topic that I am going to be talking to you about today. I'd never heard of it until I saw a tweet a couple of weeks ago, and the tweet had no text. It was just a screenshot of a Facebook post. And this is what the post was. It was a picture of the White Cliffs of Dover, just sort of the edge there.
Fucking yes.
And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking like Rule Britannia. Yeah, that's not
Britannia rules the waves.
That's not what's going on.
Not rule.
The caption within the post was, "What do you see?"
Okay.
Now, if I showed you a picture of the White Cliffs of Dover, what would you see?
I would start getting the puzzle horn, and I would be like, there must be something in there. There's probably like a special code. Hold the photo up to the light, invert it in Photoshop. There'll be some secret stuff going on inside.
That's not the case. Thank you for that, though. It's nice to know that you... I have not.
Well,
no.
There you go.
But I'm telling you now. Even if there is, that would be the second most interesting aspect of the post. Because the most interesting aspect is that the replies were all in very much unanimous agreement that what was in this picture was tree.
A tree.
Tree.
Tree singular.
Tree/tree stump/ giant tree. Okay. One of the three. And it turned out that this was a post from a Facebook group very explicitly called Ancient Giant Tree Truth.
Okay. AGTT.
Where basically the belief seems to be that there are being hidden from us the stories of these enormous ancient trees that would have towered high above anything you could even conceive of.
Wow.
Reaching up into the firmament, sometimes into the heavens, sometimes literally into heaven. These enormous trees, but they've been cut down, excavated and covered up.
And turned into a cliff?
Well, into a cliff, into a rock.
Those things don't look very similar.
What? No.
No, I'm not skeptical.
Listen, you are. No, you are. You're being skeptical and
I'm just saying, like, at first
you're trying to shut down my and their lived experience right now, and I don't want you to be doing that. So I was fascinated because it's not something I'd even remotely heard of or thought of.
No, I can't say I had either.
So I applied to join this group, and one thing that struck me as kind of weird is that unlike when we tried to join all the flat Earth groups, there were no like loopholes, no checks, no questions, no balances,
you didn't have to prove your allegiance.
Nope, I just clicked the button and then boom, I was in. Huge. And I waited patiently, and finally in I was admitted, which leads us to chapter 2, which is the rabbit hole.
Okay.
So the first thing that I saw was a pinned post from an admin that said the following. Admin post. Looking for a few new moderators to help keep the quality of post/discussion/content high.
Sign me up.
Duties are to remove trolls.
Yeah. They've gone for the flat Earth no trolls approach.
Members insulting other members. Keep that in mind. Bots, etc. We are completely biased flat earthers, so don't get it twisted. However, that's not the purpose of this group. What? There are plenty of FE groups that people could join if they want to debate that topic. This group isn't for that. However, we may remove members that troll flat earthers. Anyway, having said that, if you love this group, give us a message.
So you have to be a flat earther to be an ancient tree truther?
You don't have to be. This group is unabashedly...
completely biased in favour of.
They are completely biased in favour of the flat earth.
This is interesting. There's nothing about the earth being flat that makes a tree more or less likely.
No.
As I see it.
I suppose the point is that if you believe in the ball earth, the heliocentric spinning ball earth, that a huge tree coming off of it is going to massively change the way that it spins, its gravity and all that. It makes it...
They're that big, these trees. They're big enough that it would, like, the planet would spiral wildly out of control.
Part of the belief is, like, if they believe the White Cliffs of Dover is a tree stump, that the stump of the tree is... the
country
Great
of
Britain.
England.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fucking hell.
Right. That is how big we're talking. Not all of them are that big. Just some of them.
Some of them. I'm quite consistently like.
But they are huge. Like what we're talking here is like these people look at the giant redwoods and they're like, "That is that's a weed.
That's a fucking grass, weed. Boy."
So what I like immediately having read this, I was like, "Okay, sure." Like what? And it turns out that this group. Trees is really just the tip of the iceberg, to use a phrase.
Yeah, it's incredibly like it's such a good sign when you get accepted into one of these communities, and the first thing that they want you to see is actually not an FAQ because it's a sign that their beliefs are so ingrained that they don't even care to share them because it's all such obvious wisdom at this point.
Yeah, and that is like the overarching theme is not only are their beliefs so ingrained and like accepted.
Believes.
Yeah. There's just too many of them
to keep, so you couldn't even summarize them.
You couldn't, right? So like it seems that the group is an uneasy alliance of people of all faiths, where faiths means lunatic conspiracies. And it was strange because I was expecting quite a singular point of focus being
claim.
Ancient giant tree truth. But there is something mad going on. Just like as a flavour of the types of post that and like person commenting in there. I've got some comments from that post alone. Right. So someone, James Dyer, he said, I would personally like to state that I believe the Earth has a curvature of 1.6%, and it's massive, or it's artificial, but still has the minute curve. This has been proven by testing the accepted model of 6.6% against known mountain ranges. 2 mountains in Vietnam, blah, 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 blah. He goes on to describe this test for about 4 paragraphs. And then ends with, maths don't lie, guys. If there is a curve, it's only 1.6%. Hope my math doesn't offend anyone.
I love the idea of math offending someone.
To which Jan Salvo replies, I climbed both those mountains myself in 2010 and conducted my own experiments.
Don't lie.
I got a curve of 14%, which forms the basis of my personal torus Earth theory. Full stop. Hope that's okay.
That's amazing. These people are like there's a friendlier vibe here where their theories are actually like almost as wildly opposed as flat and ball Earth, but they're both not wanting to offend the other. Which is quite nice.
Yeah, they don't. It's really, really odd. Like, now there are points, and I'm going to come to those, where, you know, there is dissent among the ranks.
There always will be.
There always will be.
You can't tar them all with the same brush.
But even the dissent has this really weird kind of feel to it, where there are certain things that are just sacrosanct. Like, nobody in this group doesn't believe in ancient trees.
Okay.
They're like when we were in the Flat Earth group, there was a relative mix of people who believed in ball Earth or not spinning Earth or flat Earth who were debating. Yeah. Even in Flat Earth.
The perpetually falling Earth.
Yeah. Or the rising Earth.
Yeah, it was perpetually rising Earth, falling up.
Yeah. And even though it was Flat Earth, no trolls, like there was healthy debate, there was skepticism. There were a few trolls
You hate to see that happen, but even when you're as stringent as putting it in the title, trolls might come out of the woodwork.
Alexis O'Toole Maddox commented on the post saying, I'd rather be in a group where the moderators are silent and basically not there. F the police.
Classic.
To which someone replied,
Internet janitors vibe.
You sound crazy as hell. Let's see who you call in a time of trouble. To which Alexis herself replied, also, water doesn't convexly curve. Just say no to medieval perimeter brainwashing and or science fiction movies.
Medieval perimeter brainwashing is a fascinating collection of words. Don't mean a great deal together.
No, they don't mean anything really.
Alexis feels like the kind of chaos person so far.
So straight away I was like, I actually need more information. I need someone to like tell me
to spell it out.
What is happening here. What do we believe? So I did a post. I created a post. I asked a question. I said, hey guys, I'm really new to this, but absolutely fascinated by some of the material I've seen. There's so much to learn and it's hard to get a grip on it all. Does anyone have any resources that summarize our core beliefs and the key evidence?
This is such a scientific approach.
Now,
this is like
I didn't get many responses because there's not loads of people in the group. There's a couple thousand.
Yeah.
But also I posted at a weird time and all this sorts of stuff. I posted it as a question, meaning people can comment, but they can also create answers like in a poll. So there were 5 answers created. The top answer with 8 votes is tree big.
Oh, fuck. Does it say who that's from?
Jake Matthews said tree big.
Iconic.
Corey J. Thompson, X Factor / Great Mud Flood.
Right. Did you know have you folled up on X Factor?
Asked, no. It gets mentioned every now and then.
X as in the letter, right?
Yep, like as in X, exactly like the show.
Okay.
The next 3 all have 1 vote each, so they're all just by the person who created it.
Yeah.
Apophenia and Pareidolia
Okay, I know about
Now,
pareidolia.
pareidolia is where,
faces.
yeah,
isn't
where
it?
you see faces,
Or
where you see
patterns.
things that look like
Yeah.
other things. So I assume they may be a skeptic who thinks these people are seeing trees everywhere.
Right. I guess once you start looking for trees, they are abundant.
And that is a core theme of the group. Like, every other post is like, I can't not see trees. Like,
Well,
I
you
cannot
can't. It's
unsee.
hard.
I cannot unsee the trees. And what's hilarious is they'll post a photo of like a mountain,
Yeah.
and that they've taken, and in the foreground there are lots of real
like
trees.
a Bob Ross painting.
But they will say, I can't unsee the trees.
So they think,
Ignoring the real trees.
yeah, they think that they're like the Aragog's little babies, and the mountain is the big Aragog. tree.
Exactly.
I see.
Flat Earth was one, and then the last one was Bible brackets Noah's flood.
Okay, Noah's flood has no mention of a big tree. It's got, of course, is this the idea then? They think that because... No, it doesn't make sense. I'm working it out live.
Go on.
The point of the Noah's Ark story is that the bird keeps going away and finds nothing to indicate that the land is still all flooded. And when it is able to get the branch of a fucking whatever tree,
Yeah.
it's not because there was a huge tree. It's because the flood
was
had
land.
receded.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's all that could mean.
They don't believe it as that. They believe that in this kind of like a great reset, that the flood literally washed everything away.
Oh, so they think that so there aren't big trees now.
There aren't big trees now. No.
Okay.
They're gone. They're
And
being
Noah's
hidden
flood.
from us.
Noah didn't take 2 big trees aboard the ark.
He did not. He forgot about that.
There wasn't enough
didn't-
cubits
could've-
in the whole of whatever region of Palestine it happened to be, or wherever it was supposed to. Have
however
taken
many
place.
hundreds of years ago that was.
Okay.
Now,
this is new to me. So if I'm asking ignorant questions, then
there's no way that you could be accused of that. So then there were comments. Now there were 2 comments. One was a link to a video called "What on Earth Happened."
right.
Now I'm going to be honest.
What on earth happened?
It was 6 hours long.
That's so funny. We had such a great moment earlier because Declan. I came into the kitchen or something, and Declan was watching something.
A different video, which I'll talk about later.
Our brief conversation transpired that he'd found or been sent this video, and I asked how long it was, assuming like the loaded part of the question was that I know from first-hand experience of being obsessed with these sorts of people that the video, they cannot keep anything. They've got no sense of editing anything.
No, they
down.
don't. They don't.
And so I was expecting like, lol, it's like 40 minutes. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. When you said it was 6 hours, I was like, what?
It honestly
the fuck?
is insane.
What
And
could you have to say for that long about a theory this wishy-washy?
I'll be honest, I don't know because I did not watch
We'll have
it.
to-
Like,
we'll have to
We'll
go
have
for
to
it.
start, but like it's insane. Like there is just an insane amount of stuff there. The second comment, what is probably the most useful thing that I've seen, it is as best a précis of their beliefs as possible. But again, only really scratching the very surface of the core belief, which is that silica trees, so they believe these trees were silicon based, not carbon based like our current trees,
Right.
which is what allowed them to grow to such obscene structures.
That's a very specific claim.
Yeah. Don't ask about evidence for that.
No, I was going to say.
Silica trees used to grow so high people perceived that they grew into the heavens. Because of the amount of oxygen these trees put out, it allowed humans and other species to grow into giants as well.
Okay, so, I mean, we could test that, right? We could just have a bit more oxygen and see if I become 9 foot tall.
How huge you become. So yeah, like already within the sort of first maybe like 20 minutes of being in this group, I was exposed to more madness than I had been in the previous months of internet usage.
There is a very weird, like, this is quite a singular conspiracy in the sense that it's at once incredibly specific, but as the answers and responses that you got from your post indicate, like, that within that specificity of claim is a real wildness and randomness almost of how they're accounting for it, what they're basing it on. Like, is everyone that believes this do they believe that silicon thing? Do they believe the Bible thing? Are these like things you have to accept in order to accept big trees?
You don't have to.
Just a commonality.
You don't have to, but they tend to be there. So everything else, this is basically what we're going to explore. Everything else in this episode falls into chapter 3, which I've called taking the plunge.
Yeah. You should have called it going out on a limb. But that's fine.
Nice. Yeah. Branching out. Getting to the root of the problem. We
Big
got all
tree.
of these. Yeah. Big tree.
Yeah, that's
Tree
a
big.
good one. Yeah.
So, like, as ever, there was only really, like, one way to figure out what the fuck is happening, and that's to just read the posts.
back in
read the
time.
posts, read the comments, hop in my
Marry one
little
of these
machine,
guys.
and watch their videos. But, importantly, not the ones that are 6 hours long.
Yeah.
So, again, I've no idea how long this will last. I've in order to give some sort of semblance of structure to this, I've had to narrow down my findings, my report, to 3 posts.
This is a classic problem in academia, right? Like,
Yeah.
You've got to make such a specific
So
approach here.
it's worth saying that the majority of posts do follow a specific format, even though there's such a breadth of beliefs. They follow a specific format, which is very similar to the first post, which drew my attention. Someone posts a picture of some rocks, and everyone says
it's a tree.
That's a tree.
That's
that is
so
it.
good.
Like, literally,
What a fun hobby.
any rock formation on Earth, they post a picture.
Stonehenge.
And you know, like all, that will do. Like
rock.
all weird conspiracies, like they have some scare quotes science behind it, i.e., they were silicon based.
Well, this
means they
1.6%,
could survive.
I mean,
yeah,
he did the math.
Honestly, and quite proudly, almost all of the science
Yeah.
is look at this. Doesn't it look like a tree?
Well,
and that's all everyone
that's the scientific
says.
method. That's
But
empiricism.
this will do for everyone.
Yeah.
Like pretty much everyone. And so nearly every post is complete agreement on everything. And a typical comment on any post, and this is a direct quote from one that I found, it was just the archetypal comment,
Yeah.
is under a picture of anything.
Yeah.
Of anything
Any
you put
rock
there.
you'd care to mention.
Any rock, any kind of like fossil, any marking on the ground.
Yeah.
Magnificent. What a good view. No doubts of being a tree. Thanks for sharing. Like that is it. That's everything.
This is so weird.
So the posts that I've chosen are ones that like deviate from this somewhat.
Because that otherwise you would just be giving us 90 different versions of that same, that's definitely a tree. What a lovely tree.
Yeah,
Haven't seen a
exactly.
tree as clearly a tree as that.
So the first post is one that I'm calling the Uneasy Alliance.
Okay.
So as I mentioned, there's a lot of beliefs in the group. Most people believe in the flat earth to some extent.
Yeah.
And believe in a dome also, a lot of them.
Okay.
Equally
That
worth
seems at
mentioning.
odds with a very big tree.
Well, the
straight
trees,
away.
they basically
they
reach the
penetrate
dome.
the dome, or they-
Almost.
Right.
Almost.
It's not that impressive.
Equally worth mentioning, lots of them believe in a strictly and explicitly fundamentalist interpretation of the Bible.
You surprised me with that
I know.
one.
Like,
Not like young Earth.
quite a lot of their evidence is that the angels talk about
Big trees.
talk about trees. And
Big ones?
The angels are spoken of as like cutting trees.
Big ones?
Well, listen, pretty.
I don't remember
They're not. They're
angels
not
talking about
They're
big
not normal
trees. I
trees.
spent a lot of time
They're
in
not
church.
normal trees.
Fuck me.
And so, like, this is one of the reasons that so much of their language and so many of their beliefs are mythological and fantastical. Like, they do literally believe in Noah's Ark, a great reset, cleansing flood, all of this stuff.
Cool.
Now, sometimes the alliance cracks a little,
I'm sorry to hear that.
but these are the moments where you get the most information.
Yeah.
Because you get all of the implications are dropped. Like, as you quite astutely picked up right at the beginning, so much of their communication is borderline impossible to pass because there is such a depth of assumed prior knowledge.
Yeah. It's like Wittgenstein's lion vibes.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And also so much presumed consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason that every post is just like, yeah, big tree, is because we all know the rest of it. Like, we all know the stuff
Big
behind
tree
it.
stands in for so much assumed theory.
So it's when this is challenged that you get to hear people where they have to be far more explicit about what they believe. And it always is a window onto lunacy, but B, it just spirals. It spirals so far and so quickly. Mm-hmm. So here is an example of somebody who doesn't believe in a flat earth.
Right.
Importantly, and this like always seems to be the case, and I'm going to come on to this again a bit later, is that even where people are critical of elements of the theory, nobody is questioning the base theory. Like there's none. That just is de facto. It can't be touched. So this guy, Liam Morris, he comments on a post. All you guys and girls saying Earth is flat and we live under a dome. I hope when humanity makes the natural progression to being a spacefaring people, we can leave you all here to completely regress back to the Stone Age. Pretty good physical evidence to support ancient giant trees, I reckon. Absolutely no physical evidence to support a damn dome and a flat Earth. But hey, you guys do you.
Wow.
Like, just exceptional.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, I reckon.
I mean, look, we can all agree on this.
We've all looked at Ayers Rock and gone, hey, that's a stump.
That's a fucking tree.
So there's 3 comments in reply to him. And just...
He was quite aggressive. Like, I'm expecting some rebuking.
One is 2 days after, one is 5 days after, and one is a couple weeks after.
Yeah.
And just imagine this progression. When we get to the end of the last post, there is no way. There is no... In fact, I'm going to ask you, just pick something. Any mad thing you can think of that you think the last person is going to end up talking about.
Are they going to somehow relate it back to... I've got 2 guesses. The pandemic, the Jews.
Cool.
Those are my usual conspiracy punts.
Right. You are thinking in a different world.
Damn.
So, the first
I'm quite
one,
glad.
Liam Morris, I will make this very simple for you. Right now, we live in a pressurized environment of 15 psi. Without a dome, that is impossible. You can't contain that level of pressure without it being contained. Simple physics.
That's the atmosphere.
When you deny that, you are living in a fallacy.
Living in one.
Living in one.
Sounds awful.
Next person, Liam Morris. No curvature ever detected. You've lost contact with your senses and reality. Final comment, Laura Walker. Liam Morris, look up Roger in KC on alien crafts and giants here on Earth. Also, stories of Agartha, Middle-earth. You might just see they all live here on different levels of Earth. And yes, Earth is a living, breathing giant being. Incidentally, she has birthed something in Libya's desert. Roger at Mud Fossil University covers this extensively. Embryo in the desert. Scary, methinks, as he feels it is too big to even be a 1,000-foot dragon, as seen in Morocco.
Where was that? I missed that one.
Yeah, well,
the 1,000-foot Morocco
this is because you
dragon.
dropped out of Mud Fossil University.
Yeah, I flunked my entrance exam. That's incredible work. That's like, again, just such a great way of capturing the way in which you see it in everything, right? In Flat Earth, but QAnon as well.
Yeah,
and
I'll talk about QAnon a bit later.
You surprised me that there's some overlap.
It's not ever explicitly linked to this. Yeah. It's just in
just
my
so
thinking,
happens.
Yeah.
But like the way in which it takes fairly, I'm going to say normal people at one point in their lives, it takes such a short amount of time for them to become radicalized to the point of just being incomprehensible. Like, it's cult shit, right? Like,
it is
just
literally
so
cult
quick
stuff.
before they're saying like sentences like, well, Roger from Mud Fossil University took one look at the Morocco dragon and said the embryo in Libya doesn't stand a chance of living in 15 psi. 1.6%? Not on my mind. It's just, it accelerates so quickly to the point that the language is no longer
this person is lost.
referring to anything.
This person is lost. There is no way to get this person back.
The only way you can is through like a full deconditioning like you would have to do of someone who was like off trying to murder people with Charlie Manson.
Yeah, there is no, like, once you're at the point of just sort of very matter-of-factly and just very casually throwing off about the 1,000-foot dragon in Morocco.
And not feeling that you would need
to explain
anyone
more.
Could ever not understand that.
Like, you must have seen about the 1,000-foot dragon in Morocco.
Do you not follow mudflap.tv/Instagram news?
So, like, again, just to give an idea of how far and how quickly these things spiral, this actually appeared on a post where the initial topic was someone very genuinely asking about the lack of evidence for the giant mining machinery that was used to create the giant quarries and excavate these trees.
Who did that?
Well, the giants.
There are giants as well. Giant trees suggest giant men.
The second post is about giants.
Okay, fuck.
So the post was is there evidence?
Surely the giants is the bigger deal than the giant trees.
No. The giants are like, they're boring. That's just there were giants. Like there were giants.
Okay. There were giants is when you banned.
And no, there's a better one coming up.
Sure,
don't you worry.
Giants.
So there is evidence of machining all over. where did all the machines go? Was the post.
Right.
Bill
Bill
Van Horn replied,
amazing name.
brilliant use of logic. If you can't find the machines, they didn't exist in the first place. Now, every form of evidence, such as ancient astronomical data which wasn't discovered till later in times, accountings of the same gods with the same stories and attributes all over the world, thunderous weapons of war, flying machines, etc., is all now disproved with logic.
Wow. Fucking snarky from Van Horn.
John Black says, put a car underground, it'll be gone in 20 years.
That's nothing to do with it.
And then again, the third comment underneath
there's something powerful about these third comments.
Is, hi, 6,000-year-old technology wasn't lost, it just got moved, probably after the mud flood era. The X Factor meltdown, advanced people to the north, they were moved, more land is, where you cannot explore. Captain Bird mentioned it was very busy up there.
Where did he? Where did this happen? How do you know any of this?
It just...
Why can no one point you to the source of that? It's because it's never. There's no one source, right? It's just like It's like a culture developing on its own, where everything is like received wisdom that you have to accept the next level of things.
Yeah, you have to do that, or else you're not going to be part of the club anymore.
I always love seeing in these communities the people who are like trying to learn, like they've come with one aspect of knowing about, for example, the flat Earth, and they're like, so how does this thing that I know about, like, how does the fact that the Earth isn't spinning, how does that work in the broader theory? And people be like, oh, it's simple. You've got your 1.6%. You've got the Earth constantly falling up, straight up to Thoth, the Ice Kingdom, which circles
the moving
around.
island.
And people are just like, oh yeah, makes sense. Cool.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just move on now.
That's it. Good.
I'll just accept that uncritically and
And again, like,
fold it into the ideology.
this is where I made like the link with Q, and it's kind of what we've both been saying for the last 5 minutes, is that the issue with combating any of this stuff, very much like Q, is that they, scare quotes, know too much.
Yeah.
Their lore is so extensive, it's so comprehensive, as to kind of simultaneously absorb and deflect any new fact that's presented.
It's completely
it either isn't real, or it's actually part of the theory.
It's all so predicated on being on the idea of knowing more as well. That like the very mode of knowing all of these kinds of things precludes you from ever being corrected.
Yeah,
because you might have the specifics slightly off, but you fundamentally know more than anyone who would try and tell you it's probably not true.
It's actually very similar to people who are like anti-woke, right? Is that they have this same belief of like, well, you can present me with whatever fact you want. Like, I know for a fact that you're a bunch of snowflakes who are all wrong.
Yeah.
Therefore, de facto, if you say something like, I know that you are brainwashed to believe a bunch of woke bullshit.
Yeah.
And therefore you can't like save people from there. Very, very difficult. The second post, as promised, giants.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
So yeah, they believe in giants. And again, giants is not really even that much of a thing. Like, it's just, that's de facto.
Giant
again.
what?
It's people.
But
they were giants.
But
Yeah,
silicon people.
No, just people.
Oh yeah,
were
because
just
they
giants.
said that we had so much oxygen
that
we
we
could
could just grow to be giant.
I wonder what their concept is of when we stopped being giants and started a brand new train.
When the big trees went and we had smaller trees, so we could only grow to be so big.
I suppose so.
Yeah. So this post,
bigger the tree,
someone
the bigger
posted
the
a
man.
picture of someone standing in an enormous fossilized footprint. Here you go. That's it for you there.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yep. And that picture had the caption, "Giants were real."
Right.
The top comment is just someone who said,
They still are
giants are real.
implying that they, is that like a metaphysical claim that it's incorrect to say they stopped being real just because they're no longer existing? Or are they saying they're wandering around
I think it's
somewhere?
quite possibly giving them too much credit.
I think
really.
they probably think they've seen a few.
Now, the obvious point here is not only that it's obviously not a human footprint, right? Nor is it a giant's footprint.
Well,
like, people in the comments even point out that the toes go the wrong way. But this, to me, that particular element of their discussion is the most crystalline encapsulation of their kind of attempt at critical thinking, whereby all their critical thinking is never about whether or not something is true. It's about how can it be true?
Yeah. How can we make
How does it fit
how can we
into the
shove
theory?
these jigsaw pieces?
Yeah.
This one bit of Lego, this bit of Duplo, and an orange that I found. How can we make that into the
one
Mona Lisa?
Yeah, like it's never like to explain away, it's to explain how it fits into the theory. Like one person, and again, like this is perfect. This is very similar to the guy who said like pretty good evidence for, giant trees, I think. This person here, Lisa Pollara. I've always thought it odd that footprints are found like that. How is that even possible? Mm-hmm. However, I definitely believe that giant people inhabited the earth before our smaller humans.
Okay.
Like, obviously, there are all sorts of fossilized footprints, but what's fascinating to me is that her lack of knowledge about that fossilization process was never going to call into doubt the actual belief of giants.
It's just like the technicalities.
It's just I don't know how this evidence came about, but it's good.
Yeah,
it's
like
fucking
we know
good.
This bit's true.
Thank God it's there, eh?
It's just a question of working out the specific details that show how true or in what way it was true.
Yeah. Now, of course, something that this post brought up, and I can't believe that you haven't brought it up yourself, is what about dwarves?
Were the dwarves?
Well, now here's the thing. Dwarves, you would think, doesn't really seem to fit into the schema, because if the schema was that
everything was giant
because of all the oxygen,
maybe even dwarves were giant.
Dwarves were the size of us, that sort of thing,
like that
right?
That giant dwarf in the Marvel movie.
Yeah, exactly. So someone called Heidi Ho comments,
Heidi Ho,
dwarfs 2.
Yep.
7 upvotes.
Sure.
All the fairy tales, someone says. Chad Collins, this is in the replies. All the fairy tales we're told are probably true. They put it right in our faces.
Chad, all the fairy tales. Let me just pin you on this for a moment, Chad. All the fairy tales. The tar baby happened.
Yeah.
There was a witch in a house of sweets, and that happened.
Yeah.
Was it huge? Was it normal size?
Isaac, they were shoving it in our faces.
Oh, fuck.
Hiding in plain sight.
Crazy.
Mary Lutz replies somewhat more skeptically. The Bible doesn't speak of such a thing. Heidi Ho says, I'm sure you know the story about David and Goliath.
Is that
Mary
Lutz?
Lutz? Yeah, Goliath was a giant and David was a regular sized
he was
human.
a dwarf. No, I've accepted this as fact.
And then
David's an anagram of
someone who I think disagrees with Heidi, called Zach Brislow, comments, that's it, giant dwarves, I've seen the light.
Giant
and
dwarves.
then
it's very good.
Dulla Lee Johnson said, looks like it's the dwarfs that survived, brackets us, lol. So there you go.
We're the dwarves.
We're the dwarves.
The
we're
dwarf
the dwarves
was calling from inside the body.
We're the daughters of the dwarves who couldn't burn.
Oh, we should get on a t-shirt and sell it to them.
Now, the third and final post, and this...
I'm still reeling from that one.
Jesus Christ, this one goes away.
Okay.
This one goes away. This is the maddest thing I've ever looked into.
Okay, very good.
I think this is the furthest I've ever gone from an original concept to where I ended up.
Just spiraling around.
Okay. The third post is the Grand Canyon.
Okay.
We spoke very, very briefly about this a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
So as you'd expect, enormous geological features are something of a fascination for these people.
Well, they're all trees.
They are all trees.
Yeah, just to be clear.
That's not a joke. They are all trees.
Nothing says tree like a canyon.
Now,
the absence of space.
Now, there you go.
In fact, no. The absence of anything apart from space.
I was unsurprised to find that the Grand Canyon is a pretty consistent topic of conversation. And this, as I mentioned, is a perfect example of how one thing just leads to another. And within a few short moments, we have genuine insanity. Okay. So someone posts a photo of the Grand Canyon and asks how it fits into the theory of ancient giant trees. Yep. And I have to make it clear, not asking as a gotcha, asking out of genuine interest and excitement. The top comment, this is kind of an aside, is a link to a video which, in its entire 90-minute runtime, and yes, I watched this one, never once mentions the Grand Canyon.
Very cool.
Which is good.
That's
but
nice.
I thought before I get to the comments on the post, I'd give you some quotes from that video.
Yeah.
It's a Russian guy speaking English. The opening screen is him apologising in case his English isn't very good.
There's no need. If your English is good enough to make a 90-minute conspiracy video about ancient giant trees, I think your English is workable.
And it was. So at one point there was a he goes through and he shows sort of like just honestly 10 minutes of like classical music with side by sides of pictures of tree stumps and pictures of rock formations that maybe sometimes look alike and maybe sometimes don't.
I feel like if I watched 10 minutes of that, my brain would just rewire itself to just say, yes, those are the same.
Well, when he gets to the end, because it was prefigured, this montage, by him asking a question of like,
what is tree?
And what do you think, effectively, that, like, how could this be? Like,
how could
what do you
rock
think
be
about
tree?
all the,
What if the kind of tree was rock?
That is it. Like, how could rock be tree is basically the question. And he shows this montage, and when it finished, he asks, have you already guessed? There's no such thing as rocks on this planet.
Fuck! That's why. I didn't see that
They
coming.
are all petrified
the
wood.
planet's mostly rocks.
They're all petrified wood.
Okay. What was the planet? What were the trees on?
It was all petrified wood.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
That's
so
good to
then he talks about how there is rock.
Right.
So don't worry about that.
Okay, that's
And how things that have been made with rock couldn't have been made without super advanced and huge technology.
Is this the mining tech we've heard about?
Yeah, this is the mining tech. So he gives examples of some of it. But then what's fascinating is he like shows something like a huge like rock structure somewhere in Peru that's like built by an ancient civilization.
Cool.
And he's like, well, it's not possible. They had to have had this machine.
Right.
Or else it's not possible. And then he shows like a Renaissance statue that's like very, very intricate, carved out of marble, looks like a big rope net.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's not possible. They had to have had this machine.
People can do that now, though.
No, he said no one recently has ever come close.
Oh.
Without this technology, even with this technology.
Fuck, okay.
And then he just shows a picture of like the most ordinary bridge you've ever seen.
This
like,
is a big
not
tree
possible.
as well.
He said this direct quote. I mostly had it on in the background while I was researching other stuff.
Yeah.
But I had to go back. I watched this 10 seconds, maybe 20 times. In 1977, Hollywood made Close Encounters of the Third Kind, with Devil Tower playing the main role.
Okay.
Devil Tower is that rock that it lands near that's on the poster, that's flat at the top. But
Okay.
it's,
I don't know if I'd call that the main role.
Play the main role. And we are told 100 times that this is mountain where we can meet aliens. But this garbage is suitable for fools only.
What is he dunking on? Close Encounters never claimed to be a documentary about where you can meet aliens.
I think that gives us a real insight into how
to have
he
Close
views
Encounters
film.
of the Third Kind.
And then the next thing he talks about is how, well, actually, Devil's Tower is obviously the stump of an ancient tree. He shows a picture of a tree stump and then says, if you don't notice similarities with Devil's Tower, you must be 100% blind.
Fuck. That's very blind.
So that was just a little aside.
It's interesting to me that they carry on just sharing pictures of things if it is accepted that everything's trees. Like, why post a picture if everything's trees? Like,
because it's amazing.
Are you trying to find the one that isn't?
Yeah.
Be like, actually, you know what? That's not
It just
trees.
seems to be an exercise in them reinforcing their own belief.
I feel like there's some kind of money we could make by just getting like pictures of places on t-shirts. Put the word tree under it. $25.
Done. Yeah, we'll make a fortune.
Tree shirts.
We would make a Oh,
that's good.
Oh,
That's
it's done. That's its own site.
No one steal that from us, okay? Or cut us in. Cut us in.
If
We'll all make this ancient tree dollar.
So, let's return to the actual post. So, there's a picture of the Grand Canyon, and there's what is the Grand Canyon? Yeah. Is basically the answer. Top comment, it is one of the most beautiful places on Earth.
Cool. Not super relevant.
No, but that's fine. Probably a quarry, says Lorna. Water at the bottom, good for transportation. There's depth water erosion there, so it was emptied before the Noahic flood. Roxanne, it's a giant quarry. Maybe the remains of giants. Kind of looks like mussels, some of the red rocks. Then they dug out the gems that were there from silica.
Okay. I like the reasoning that took you from it's a giant quarry. Probably there were giants.
Giants, yeah.
Thinking that that's what giant means in that context.
Grand Canyon is not ancient trees, but an ancient mining quarry. Was underwater once, says someone else.
Okay. Wasn't everything in Noah?
Then, Kevin Turk.
Okay.
Excavated umbilical cord. Watch this video on YouTube. Quote, pregnant goat woman of the West Coast.
Fuck. Okay. Pregnant goat woman whose umbilical cord was external to her and as big as a city.
Now, I regret to inform you I have watched this video.
Yeah.
Now, what I regret even more is that when you type into Google pregnant goat what, it autofills the rest, despite the video only having, hang on a second,
Yeah.
how many views?
666 views. It's stuck at that.
Worse yet, the video,
terrible.
you can tell because it's just a screen grab,
Yeah.
was filmed at 4:04 in the morning. And last night, Mark and I ended up watching it at 4:04 in the morning.
Okay, let's all rebuke that.
So, this is one of 3 videos from a channel that is called The Continents Are Giants Stuck in Dried Mud.
And then is the idea that like the motion of tectonic plates is the giants slowly trying to escape over eons?
It's not that well thought out. Now, this guy, he is the opposite of the 5 to 6 hour people. I think that his recording software is on a free trial because
He has to get in and out.
He has to get in 5 minutes.
That's very good.
He mentions at the beginning of this video that he's been meaning to make it for ages, but there's too much to say and he can't get it in 5 minutes. So he's not going to explain any of it. He's just going to go through and point out the
that's
features.
Convenient.
Now, so like I say, this is one of 3 videos. There's a video about CERN taking down his Facebook posts.
Do they do that?
There's Pregnant Goat Woman of the West Coast, and there's a video called Dracula Talk. So I'm going to summarize this video.
Disparate interests.
I'm going to summarize this video, and then I'm going to tell you some of the quotes.
Uh-huh.
So the Goat Woman video is just a screen grab of his as he has a Google Earth window open and uses various overlays and zooms to show us where you can see in the map of the West Coast this pregnant goat woman who is buried there.
And she is, just to be clear, she's like states big.
State's huge. She spans the entire West Coast and up into Alaska.
Is she a goat?
No, she is a woman.
What's the goat part?
We're coming to that. So, these are all direct quotes. These are all direct quotes. This right here is a face. This right here in Washington and Oregon is a pregnant goat woman's face. Undeniably a face.
You can't say that.
Undeniably a face because she's pretty. This isn't some haggard old woman. It's a pretty face.
I want to fuck it.
She has horns. Right? Now, the horns are just mountain ranges that go up through Canada and into Alaska. And then he says, I'm pretty sure Alaska means I. AXA means I. It's the K. It's just the K and the S switched round. And everything's switched round. I don't want to go off topic.
Don't want to go off topic on that one.
This is her fetus here in Utah. Undeniably another head with horns.
Is it undeniably? Have you, when you saw the screenshot, I obviously can't see it.
Now, I'll be honest.
You couldn't deny.
The initial face, you can't deny.
Really?
She's there.
Well, she's pretty.
She's fucking hot.
She's
a real smoke show, let me tell you.
gorgeous.
The Grand Canyon is a quarry. What was there originally it was the umbilical cord.
So, okay.
Las Vegas was built upon her clitoris. Is a quote.
Why?
A
How
direct
does
quote.
he know that?
Well, it's about stimulate. So his opinion is that these things were done intentionally to her to keep her there. They're trying to basically they don't ask who. Don't ask who are basically trying to make the baby explode out of her because they blocked.
She's still pregnant. And
she's
alive.
still pregnant. They blocked off her womb with the Hoover Dam, and then they're stimulating her by building Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Because stimulation encourages delivery.
But they've severed the umbilical cord. The baby's obviously dead.
No, listen. Don't worry about that.
Okay, no, I'll try not to.
This one, I am going to say, I'm going to attempt his accent. He's just got like a generic American accent.
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt it just because the delivery of this is what made it for me.
Okay.
This final quote here. She's not enjoying what's going on. I mean, she's trapped in mud. She's in her 3rd trimester.
It's so fucking formal.
It's
Such
amazing.
a formal way of getting that across.
So obviously I checked the comments, and here's where I found 2 fascinating things, neither of which surprised me very much. Someone called Lumus Gurf
Wow.
commented, just letting you know I watched your vids. This is definitely odd to say least. To which the continents are giants stuck in dried mud replied, I know, those are only 2 of them. I see easily 12 other undeniable titans. It's easier for me to spot the bigger ones. Once I get a new computer, I'm going to make a series of videos pointing them out. Loomis replies, freaking hilarious that Las Vegas is the dried up cooch of the whore of Babylon, though.
When did that bit come in?
Let's just remember that this started from someone asking what the Grand Canyon is.
And now we're finding out that Las Vegas is a big sort of artificial kink sex toy that's holding a goat woman in place.
Hostage.
While her baby grows ever larger and more explosively goaty in the womb.
Now, here's something that I honestly was not expecting to find. I don't think anyone is expecting what I'm about to say next. But having found it, I'm simultaneously not at all surprised, which is that the conspiracy theorist is a TERF.
No.
His pinned comment on the video, lest we forget, pregnant goat woman of the West Coast.
Yeah.
His pinned comment is, a pronoun is a reference. It is a grammatical impossibility to reference the person to whom you're speaking. In other words, you can't use, quote, improper pronouns or pronouns in general when speaking to a person. The only way to use a pronoun is in reference to a third party. Example, John to Jake. I don't like Mark. He is a jerk. No one was talking to Mark. Therefore, the scare quote offence taken is a complete fallacy. You heard it here first. I'm going to copyright the term as improper pronoun fallacy, or IPF.
What on earth? Did someone like
No.
use the wrong pronouns for his goat woman?
Before you ask, no.
Oh goodness.
Now, I was going to leave it there, but obviously I had to check out the video called Dracula Talk.
Yeah. It might not be about ancient giant trees, but
Dracula Talk is a very similar video, but it's pointing out that if you turn Europe on its side, it looks like a titan stuck in the mud.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme.
First line of the video. This is a video for my fellow red pillars. Because if the first thing you're going to think inside is, that couldn't possibly be true, and therefore you're not going to look at it, that's the definition of blue pill, all right?
Fuck.
You're a blue pillar. This
Oh.
isn't for you. Go take your life elsewhere if you get my drift.
Fuck, he's done me.
He's done him. He's done
Because I would be
You were
exactly
going-
in that
yeah.
position. I'd be like, this is obviously bullshit and you're clearly mad.
Next sentence. Let's jump right into it. We've got titans.
We got titans.
We got titans. Now, he points out that if you look, Spain is the head of this creature.
This Dracula, perhaps.
Portugal is the crown.
Oh, it's
And then
fucking
he says, Ireland and the UK are on the wing of this thing. He's a Dracula of sorts.
Fuck.
a Dracula of sorts.
Oh, that's so good.
Now, again, like...
How old... You've heard this guy's voice. How old do you think he is?
Like
boomer
probably
age?
our age. Probably our age, I would say. Yeah.
Joking?
No. I think he's about our age.
Oh,
I'll put it on later.
I'm
you
even
can
more
decide.
worried about him, to be
Yeah.
honest.
So again, like, I hate to bang the same
Can't
drum.
be spending your 20s
but-
thinking Titans are stuck in the mud, mate. This is supposed to be get out and get amongst
time of your
it.
life.
You should be on that
Listen,
Las
the
Vegas
pandemic
clitoris.
hit us all. Okay, like I hate to bang the same drum, but the main thing that I took away from this transition from here's a picture of the Grand Canyon to Spain is Dracula.
Yeah.
Like it is just there's no way. There is no way. Like there's too much. I wanted to look at some big trees, and instead I'm reading red pill theory on a video about Dracula being stuck in the mud of Spain.
Yeah.
Like there is nothing that can be done about this.
No, it's too late for a lot of this.
It doesn't bode well for like the broader conspiracy community. Like the well is too deep, the water is too poisoned, the people are too lost. They're like these are not beliefs; these are facts.
Yeah, I
These are
think as well, like
facts to them.
the fact that this is a smaller one, like this is relatively under the radar. By no means are ancient trees. Like I'm surprised that I've not come across this.
Yeah.
I think that's testament primarily to its nicheness
It's
rather than
lunacy.
my lack of being across the conspiracy world.
Yeah.
But I think it sounds like from this excursion, the smaller and more niche the theory, the more ardent and like just accepted and internalized the beliefs. Like these people, I think I would find it easier to convince a flat earther to have a second go at life.
The baller, yeah.
To have a second go at their theories than someone who is like this specific about what they believe, because that is just, where do you even start to unpack?
You can't, like, there isn't anywhere to begin.
There's no jumping on point because it's such a mad series of intertwined and yet wildly
Completely
disparate and
disparate,
irrelevant beliefs that you just...
They don't link at all.
Yeah.
They link only in the minds of people who are like, well, if this one thing is true, this is probably true as
Yeah.
well. Like, if you're going to accept that the whole world was run by giants who are mining enormous trees, you might as well
praying
also
goats.
believe that Spain is a vampire.
Yeah.
It's a Dracula of sorts.
I guess.
A Dracula.
Dracula of sorts is
one of my
so good.
favourite things ever is when people refer to a vampire as a Dracula.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't the guy's name.
Yeah.
Like, also, and he literally says that part of the reason he made the video is he was last night watching Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Brahms Dracula.
Perhaps I posit to kind of like as an ending though.
Mm-hmm.
The only hope in this way
Join them.
is the sort of
Mm-hmm.
is the trolls.
Okay.
Those kind of like anonymous heroes who infiltrate these groups, who sow the seeds of discontent,
Chaos.
challenge the narrative,
Giant seeds.
and generally just sort of drive these people to distraction. And I'm going to leave us with a quote from one such hero in the Ancient Giant Tree.
Okay.
Post from Lorna Waterman.
Yes, Lorna.
New thought, brackets, to me. What if, ... the Earth really is round, but it's much bigger than we are told, and that is why we can't see the curvature? Very close to a discovery, she is there. Very close. Lots of people piled in, telling her she's chatting shit.
Yeah.
There's no curvature. And the very bottom comment underneath all of them was from a guy called Andrew Sorensen, who just commented, "Some of you have never been to space, and it shows."
Yes, Andrew. Got 'em. Well, there we have it. A classic TAS deep dive. At this point, you've had a few on the trot, and you must be gluttonous with delight at the amount of internet that we've shoveled
Perused
down
for
your
you.
throats, so that you don't have
We
to.
peruse it so you
Yeah.
don't have to.
But I like where you're going with this theory that the trolls are to be kind of celebrated here, because maybe it is only through, it's kind of a very OG season 1 TAS thesis that, you know, sometimes people need to have social correction in the
They
form
need
of,
to be bullied.
in the form of being bullied out of their terribly bad nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably evil ideas that ultimately, even if they're not aggressively bad, like I don't think anyone's gonna do a massacre in the name of the ancient trees. It could
you
happen.
don't know.
It could happen. But like, even if they're not,
The
it's
point,
consuming innocent lives.
The point is also, like, as we say, that Ancient Giant Trees is but a hop, skip, and a jump away from Dracula in the mud.
Yeah.
And
where does
once
that
you
lead
take
next?
that
Like,
can go
once you've
anywhere.
been Drac
There is
killed.
the sky's the limit.
I think, I like the idea that we come out on the side of trolls. We should make one of those like British adverts, like, here's to the trollers, the Las Vegas high rollers.
Yeah.
I think we should work on that in our own time.
Yeah.
Look, it's been That's a Shame, and that for sure was a shame. There's the word "that" doing just an immense amount of scooping together
This here,
a bunch of nonsense,
huge
that really
Santa's sack
doesn't
filled
belong together.
with drivel. Why don't you, Isaac,
Yeah.
lead us out with a description of all the different ways that people can
Yeah,
find
okay.
more shame within the Shame City universe?
I can do that. So the first and most kind of temporally frequent is Twitch, where we stream about 4 nights a week on average. That's over at shame.city/Twitch. We play games. That's it. We
do
chats.
voices?
We do all kinds of voices. Let's do one each now.
Go on.
I've been playing a woman who talks a lot like this.
And I've been playing a woman who talks like this.
Yeah, we're playing this cool game Overboard, where you play as a woman who kills her fash husband and then is trying to get away with it on a boat. It's very funny, very good. Shame.city/Twitch. It's like 9 p.m. UK time, which is UTC +1, Monday to Thursday is the most reliable. But join our Discord, shame.city/Discord, and you'll get notifications when we go live. You don't have to talk, but you're more than welcome to hang out. It's a lovely group of people. We've got a bunch of Twitters. Some would say too many to keep track of, but the main ones of interest now are at Shame City Gang, which is for the whole Shame City verse, and at That's a Shame Cast again,
correct.
for this very show here. Remember, it got banned once, and then
now it's
we
back
started
with a
that, and then we
vengeance.
got it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's good.
What the fuck else is there?
Pardon? Oh, I don't know. You mentioned the Discord already.
Yeah.
Which is shame.city/Discord. You could just go to shame.city.
Yeah, it's a good
Just
place.
go there, have a look
Good
round.
place.
If you fancy listening to a really cool song, you could go to shame.city/Geds. That's DDS.
Yeah.
And there's a very cool song that we
wrote.
wrote and Isaac created, produced, and performed with consummate skill and professionalism. And it's very cool. And you can give money to charity through it.
Which would be lovely, wouldn't it? The last thing to plug is every other Sunday, so a week from the day this episode came out, we're doing Big Bad Books, which is our new show, shame.city/books, if you want to find ways to listen to it, but it's not hard.
Big Bad Books on Twitter.
Indeed. And we're doing Ready Player 2, chapter by chapter, diving in deep.
Oh, it's our own slog.
It's powerful stuff, that's for sure. Until 2 weeks' time, or 1 week if you join us at Big Bad Books, I've been Isaac. You've been...
I've been Declan.
Pour one out for the Las Vegas Goat Woman gang.
Look out for Draculas.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to